All right. I think I'm live. I think I'm live. Hey everybody. I know that hey, there's some people out there. Thanks for joining already. Wow. I've got viewers going on already. Tonight we've got the runoff elections for the city of Albuquerque. We got two city council districts that are up um, up for grabs. We don't have ranked choice voting, so as a result, we have to have a separate election, which is what we just did. A month later, today we put on the election. And so I'm just getting things started here. I'm getting rolling. I'm going to share the link to the live stream here in a second. I'm going to get my chat going here in a separate window. Also need to see where I'm at so that I know what I'm doing, and that I can talk to you all. All right, let's see here. Oh boy, man, my mouse is giving me trouble. You gotta love technology. You gotta love it. All right, let's get this thing shared. Hey, there's somebody else out there, and don't be afraid. Please get on the chat. Say hello, hi, how's it going? Make sure to thumbs up this thing. Share this thing right now. It's live. We got a little bit of time before the election results are going to come up. What is it right now? The time is we're just a little bit after 7 right now. 7:10, right? And as you can see, we don't have any results right now. I'm going to have the live results from Bernalillo County, who's conducting the count of the runoffs, right here on the screen, so that we can look at it. And in fact, what we got here, it's not even going to scroll. These are the two things we have. We've got the two city council runoffs in Albuquerque City Council districts 2 and 4. 2 is in the North Valley, from basically downtown up through the North Valley of Albuquerque. And 4 is Far North Heights, from basically like Montgomery, east of I-25, going all the way to the top of the city, North Albuquerque Acres, and going west and going east quite a ways to, in some places to the foothills, and in other places to almost Tanawin. So we've got Isaac Benton, who's the incumbent in District 2, who's taking on Zachary Quintero. Zach Quintero got 19% in a 6-way race. Isaac Benton did not quite make the 50%. He got high 30s, and so he was subject to a new one. And the same goes with Brooke Bassan. It was a 3-way race, but Brooke was not able to get. She was the leading candidate, but was not able to get 50%. And so Ani Romero, who put in a pretty strong second. I can't remember the total right this second, but I think she had it in the 30s, if I'm in the high 30s, if I recall correctly, is now challenging Brooke in the head-to-head matchup here. So it's going to be interesting to see what our vote totals are, how many people showed up, because there's a lot of debate, and the reason why I'm covering this like I am is that well, there was a lot of time. Ranked choice voting is a very important issue to me, and ranked choice voting, basically, there were people who were there were proponents, or maybe they didn't like ranked choice voting, but they were basically proponents of saying no, the runoff system's better. The runoff system is better because it gives time for people to get more educated about the voters, and we should have a separate election There's nothing wrong with that. Why? I mean, it's too confusing to pick all your stuff at one time. Arguments I don't think is very good. And one of the things that I and many others said is that the biggest problem with a separate month later runoff election is that classically the turnout in those races just plummets. And so the winner of the runoff election is the winner of a subset of a lot fewer voters than in the first go round. And, I even thought about it where people have complained, like in the Las Cruces ranked choice election for mayor, where the final tally didn't have as many voters as the first round. By round 9, there weren't as many voters participating, even though they could if they marked everything. But honestly, the drop off there, I'll need to double check, but I think the drop off there was some like 10-15%. I would be amazed if we only get a 10 or 15% drop off from the first run to the second run. So, I mean, tell me what you think about that. Share your comments with me in the comments screen. Say hi. Don't forget to smash the like button on this. Also, click that share button and share to everybody you know out there in Facebook and Twitter land. Let's get a whole bunch of people in here for the conversation tonight, and see what comes of it. Tell me what you think. What are your predictions tonight? I mean, the odds-on favorite is the incumbent Isaac Benton's going to win, and that Brooke Bassan was kind of the handoff from Brad Winter, who retired this time. That's where the betting money has gone. They were also the leaders after the first round. So did you see any shifts out there? Did you see anything different? Do you predict something other than that? I would really like to hear from you tonight. All right. Sharing to Facebook land. All right, we've got 4 people in the house now. Thank you. Thank you for hitting those likes there. Thank you very much. It makes a big deal. Watching the stream is one thing, and that's great. Hitting the like button helps YouTube understand that this is something worth watching. Sharing does the same thing as well. I would love to have a bunch of people on the chat tonight, and all of us exchanging ideas. I think that would be fantastic. So who do we have out there tonight? All right, let's take a look here. Still nothing. It's early. No, we've got results. We've got results in already. And look at this. Although it's not super close, I would say that it's not absolute blowout numbers like we've seen before. So Isaac Benton, we've got. So now it's saying 0 of 10 vote centers, but there's got to be something in here. We've got it's early and absentee vote. So early and absentee vote has just come in, and I'm going to let me see about enlarging this for a second here, and giving us a better view. So here we go. With the whoops, I need to transition. There we go. So Ike Benton is in the lead over Zach Quintero, and Brooke Bassan in the lead over Ann Romero. And in fact, the margins are almost the same, about a 9-point split. Here we have the absentee and early vote totals. So what do we got here? Let's look. We've got the absentee in District 2 is almost nothing, 109 votes cast, and there was a 5-vote difference. And then on election early voting, though, that's where Ike Benton has broken out about a 300 vote lead in the early voting. With Brooke Bassan, there was more voting going on there, and this is typical. District 4 usually turns out more voters than District 2, mainly because of the usuals. The older and more conservative you are, more money you have, the more you tend to vote. District 4 has more of that than District 2, and so it's reflected in these turnouts as well. So absentee vote, it was about 2-1, Brooke to Anne, and the early vote, we've got about a 400 vote separation there. So Brooke Bassan has a 500 vote lead going into election day. So honestly, when you look at it, that's a healthy lead for Brooke and for Ike Benton, but it's not necessarily completely over. So we still have something to talk about. We may have some boxes to look at to see what actually happens. Charles Compton just quoted in, does the low turnout bode well for the incumbents? Well, so there's no incumbent in District 4, but like I said, Brooke Bassan in a way is incumbent-ish because the incumbent kind of tried to hand the scepter over to her. So what I would say is that yes, generally low turnout is better for people who are already well known, who've already been around. It's like Ike Benton has been around for 12 years now on the council, and so he's a more recognized name. And if you didn't know much, then you may be tempted to go in that direction. What I would say is that it usually takes a surge for the incumbent, for a non-incumbent, or from a challenging position to come in. There are some few examples of the more incumbent voter having their vote completely fall apart, but that's usually due to some kind of corruption scandal or something like that. If you don't have that, then the incumbent tends to have a group of followers, a group of loyalists that will always show up and support that candidate. So they come with that advantage to the election to begin with. And so any kind of challenger has to overcome that. They have to build that and more. So right now, like I said, we've got a pretty healthy lead for both. But like I said, healthy but not insurmountable. Although this is setting the stage for where we're going to go. So all right. I'm going to keep refreshing every so often to see what's up there. If you all want to refresh too, and make sure that I'm up to date on all the latest, then you can go to the county clerk's website, which is burnco.gov, and right there on the title screen they have a link to the live election results right now. But here we are. So it is 7:22. We about 7:15 we got the first results, absentee and early, and 9-point lead opened up for both Ike Benton and Brooke Bassan. So, how were you? Any of you from districts 2 or 4? Did you vote in this election? And if so, what did you do? I'm going to tell you what I did, and people might be surprised, but I live in District 2, so I was part of that big 6-way first round vote, and I was really happy to have so many choices. Do you know why? Because out of 6 people, I only found one candidate that I really connected with, and that was Robert Raymond Blanqueta Nelson. And unfortunately, Robert, he got 14% of the vote, maybe 15 by the time it was done, but not enough to surmount Zach Quintero. And so he didn't make the runoff. He came in third. And I was sad about that. So here I am with Ike Benton and Zach Quintero, and I was torn. I was really torn because Isaac Benton's been on the council for a long time, and there's some progressive type issues and things that he votes well on. So things like sick leave. He was good on the ranked choice voting. He actually wanted to open up the council to become an 11-member district, which I think is actually pretty smart. We need to make these city council districts a little bit smaller. There's certain like social issues and things like that he's done very well and takes good votes on. But unfortunately, I found out some information during the first run, like right towards the very end, that was very unsettling to me. So there was a hit piece mailer that went out from an outside group called Progressive ABQ, and it was one, and I'm sure many of you have seen it, that had Zach Quintero, with his arms crossed and with his smile, and it looks like he's in a kitchen, like in an industrial kitchen or like a restaurant kitchen, and he's got tattoos all over his arms, and it says, "Oh, he didn't invent the Christmas enchiladas," and some other stuff like that. But mainly that image was a very striking image, and from what I've gathered and talked with other people too, and what I pointed out about the potential racist angle to that mailer was that I think that the mailer mainly went out to a more Anglo audience, more Anglo precincts, where those kind of images would be off-putting and might scare people away from voting for Zach. And I found it highly distasteful. It was a photoshopped image on somebody else's body. It's, to me, complete fraud. And when I went to look at who this Progressive ABQ was, their donors were nearly completely, there's some locals, but the big chunks of the big money were coming from out-of-state development companies, developers. And that made me sick to my stomach. Number one, that they had the gall to use the word progressive in their name, but you can name your group anything you want. But it came from there. And they were mainly set out to attack Zach, but they also were supporting Isaac Benton. And then that's why I'm sitting here going, when did Isaac Benton become a friend of the out-of-state development community? And that really raised a lot of alarm bells for me. Because there's two groups of people involved in our city politic that I don't get. I tend to have a lot of disagreements with, and don't feel that they have the people of Albuquerque always in the front of their minds. And one of them is hang on a second here. One of them is the big out-of-state developers and the development and real estate community here locally. The second one is the police department, which I feel like the police department does not always, they look out for themselves, and they try to make sure that there's not a lot of police accountability, and I have a lot of trouble with that. And unfortunately, Zach Quintero was endorsed by the APOA, the Albuquerque Police Officers Association, and I got I didn't get a single mailer from Benton or Quintero in the first run, but in the second run, I got clobbered with it. And with Zach, even though he had 4 mailers and sometimes talked about some different things, every single one of them was like police, 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 police. I want to build a substation, fine. I'm endorsed by the police, 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 police. And I know that crime's a big issue, but when that's the most heavy-handed thing that you do in your campaign, you turn me off. Does that work for other voters? Maybe, but it doesn't work for me. So now here I'm sitting here going, I'm stuck between big out-of-state developers and the police association. So today I went to a polling place down on Lomas and 16th. Signed in, registered, I got my ballot, and I didn't even go to a booth. I just walked straight over to the tabulation machine, And I said, I'd like to cast my ballot. And one of the poll workers there, an older lady, was like, well, you got to mark it first. I'm like, no, I'd like to cast it the way it is right now. And this younger gentleman who was there, it took him a second, but he said, oh, so you just want to consciously cast a blank ballot? I said, yes, that's what I want to do. And he's like, okay. And we stuck the ballot in the machine, and it worked. So I voted, and I voted for nobody. But I did go, I registered, I got my ballot, I turned it in, I put it through the tabulation machine. You might ask, Steve, why would you go through all of that? Well, the reason is because then in the database of the county and others, it will mark that I voted on that day. And that's important. It's important for us to vote. And one of the reasons also, too, is that if you vote often enough, if you don't skip elections and you actually do show up and get that ballot go through the tabulator, then you're flagged as an active voter. And if you're flagged as an active voter, then when it comes time to send mailers and other things like that, you're going to get hit first. You will be targeted first because people are like, oh, this person always votes. And because they always vote, we're gonna talk to them. We're gonna try to get their vote, and so you tend to get more of the mailers. Maybe a phone call, maybe a email, things like that. Because every election campaign, whether you're publicly financed, or even if you get a whole bunch of money from outside sources, you rarely can talk to everybody out there. And so you have to pick and choose who you're going to vote for. Well, the first people that are going to get picked and chose are definitely the active voters. So I do this all the time. I try to vote all the time. There's been one or two elections that I've completely missed, but so that's where I'm at. And I didn't have a video yet. I wasn't doing my show in 2018. But in 2018, actually, I had sort of a similar situation, except that in 2018, we had the statewide races. We had, all these statewide races, judges, county offices, many other things. And so I didn't cast a blank ballot. But I did skip about 5 or 6 different races. I didn't vote for anyone for the governor. There were 2 people running in the general election, didn't like either of them. And I've got my reasons, and they've pretty much stuck. And I voted for quite a few Democrats. I voted for some Libertarians. I even voted for 2 Republicans in the case where the Republicans were actually slightly more like Democrats than the Democrats were. And that I definitely did that for the county sheriff's office. You see what a disaster the current county sheriff is. So, yeah. So anyway, totally blank ballot this time, and not 1 ounce of remorse. So, what do you guys think about that? How do you feel about the issue about voting a blank ballot versus just not voting at all? Throw me a chat. Let me know. All right, we're still waiting for some more election returns. When some new numbers come up, I'll snap them up on the screen here. So why don't we go back and take a look at the first run and see what was the results of the elections on the first run. So I'll get them up here. In the meantime, all right, we still have 3 viewers. Thank you very much, whoever the 3 viewers are. I'm glad you're hanging in there. So I was trying to go at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And as you know, it happens a lot. I didn't get to the polling place till about 4:45, and I was hoping still though on a Tuesday at 4:45 that I would get in and out pretty quickly. And interestingly enough, When I got there at 4:45, the parking lot at 16th and Lomas is right across from the Monroes. It's where the Palms Trading Company is in that little strip, and and um, there was a line. There was a line to sign in and get registered to vote. To register yourself so that you could vote. It was about 10 people long, and so and unlike going to Dos Colos, this is a small place, so they just have 2 people signing folks in. They just had like 2 or 3 little booth areas for you to mark your ballot, and 2 machines, which probably normally is good enough. I mean, at Dos Colos Center down by San Mateo Manal, they have it's like multiply all of that by 5 or 6. It's huge, and I mean, and partly because it draws people in from all over the near heights. So anyway, I actually had to wait a little bit before I was able to vote. I was surprised. I mean, pleasantly surprised. I'm always happy when people show up to vote. So, no complaints there. I'm trying to get the results from the first run election, and what's interesting is you'd find that on the Secretary of State's site, and I am not seeing it here, which is very odd to me. Because usually you can go and see all of the elections, and I see this whole list of them over here, but I'm not seeing the one that I need. So if anyone has a link to where we can see those election results, shoot them over to us. Shoot them over to me, because that would be nice. So, all right. Did any of you? Did you vote today? Did you vote early? Did you vote? Did you vote on election day today? How did Quintero do motivating his base during the runoff? Were you getting his lit? I wonder if a lot of his people went out. So, like I said, I didn't get any literature from any of the candidates in the first run. And that could be because I'm a registered independent. It's a very Democratic district, although it's a giant mistake to not talk to independent voters, especially in municipal elections. So I had to do some digging of my own to, and on Facebook, there were people hitting me on Facebook with their ads and things like that. So I was getting some information that way too. But so it's a good question. I mean, it was a 1 month, to the runoff, or just slightly over a month, and I don't know. As far as I know, no one knocked on our doors, so I didn't see that. I know that Robert Blanquera Nelson had a field operation, but that's the only one that I really heard of having something like that. So, it makes me wonder. The one thing I will tell you is this, that I believe that Zach Quintero he's connected. So he has support from politicians. I would say sort of more the good old boy network in several areas, and so there's a network that's supporting Zach Quintero. He's not just a young guy from nowhere. He moved to Albuquerque in 2016. I think down from Las Cruces, but his family has a name there. He's not a complete nobody. He's just new to Albuquerque. And that's something that I know that the Ike Benton campaign in a comparison piece tried to bring up that he was, in essence, like a carpetbagger or something like that. And you can take that for whatever stock you want, like if that matters to you or not. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's policy first. Like if someone hasn't lived here a long time, yeah, I'm gonna kind of take a second or third glance at them. But if they're espousing the right policy, or if they can point to places in their past or things that they've done that demonstrate that they're thinking right on a lot of the issues or doing right on a lot of the issues, then I'm not going to have, I'm a policy first kind of person. The other sorts of identity politics stuff or other things are less important to me than what's your policy, who's supporting you, what are you all about, and that kind of thing. So so that's, aha, we've got 2 boxes in now from the regular election results. So let's cut away to that now. So with 2 out of 10 vote centers coming in, you can see, and this makes sense. There's more votes coming in on election day on that column all the way to the right. And it's Ike Benton in District 2. There's more votes coming in now. With voting convenience centers, someone can vote anywhere in the city. So even if you're in District 2, you could vote way out in District 4 or other parts of the city. There were some select boxes all around. So that's why there's also a smattering of votes for Basan and Romero. And so here we go. Zach Quintero gets about 50 more votes than Ike Benton. So he closes the gap by a little bit. The other reason why you're going to see that the boxes from District 2, they're probably going to come in sooner because they're located closer to downtown physically. And so they can do more of the verifications and double checks with those boxes coming in, where the boxes from 4 will come a little bit later. So, all right, so Zach Quintero closing the gap. He's now, what is that, looking like 260 votes down instead of 300. And Brooke Basan got 26 fewer votes than Ann Romero. So Ann Romero closes her gap by 26. Obviously this is not it's probably a downtown box, and there weren't a lot of District 4 voters who decided to vote at that location. But there always is some. And so even when we get a box that moves the numbers big in District 4, you'll still see a couple of ticks coming in for Ike Benton. So, all right. We're off to now we're at 4. 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. I feel like they count from Sesame Street. So, here we go. Now we've got Zach Quintero, and he's now got about a 60 vote lead. So he's picked up a few more votes, but he's still down by 256 votes at this point in time. So 52-47 is the results there, and Ana Romero is now clawed 46 votes back to her side, net 46 from the boxes that have come in, those other 2 extra boxes that have come in. So so what does this show you? Like if you have an Ike Benton or a Brooke Basan who's sitting in the high 30s, and like Zach Quintero only gets 19% of the vote in the first round, now he's at 47.5%. What that's telling you is that a lot of people are sitting there going, I'm in an anti-incumbent mood. I don't want the same person. And so a lot of people, if they didn't vote for Zach in the first round, but they also did not vote for Ike Benton in the second round, in the first round, they're choosing to vote for Zach Quintero to say, like, let's get something else going on. So Zach's gone from 19% to 47%. Ike Benton's gone from like 38 to 52. So Ike Benton has got like another 14% of the vote. Zach Quintero has acquired another, another like 19% of the vote. So they're both getting it. And, Ike had a shorter journey to 50% than Zach did. And so if that core group that I was talking about that incumbents usually have, and if the election results are actually going to be are going to be lower this time than last. That core group can make a big difference. So that's what remains to be seen. I'm going to click a couple more times to see if we can get a different result, but there you go. So Charles saying, I also wonder if any of the negative press on the recent art traffic accidents will affect today's voting against Ike. So yeah, and this is, all incumbents are subject to sort of the scrutiny on art. There was only one city councilor who voted no on the project back when, and that was Dan Lewis. Even Trudy Jones, Republican Trudy Jones, Republican Don Harris voted yes. I know that there was some scrutiny about that. I think there was a little bit more. On Pat Davis, especially because of some of the devastation to local businesses in the Nob Hill area during the campaign. There was some questioning about that. But honestly, I think that art as an issue faded around the time of the elections. And it did not play as big a role as some people might have thought in the first round, and also in the runoff. I think that it became, and I think that the accident thing, I don't think it played as big of a role. And I mean, it's not pleasant, but I think that in some ways it was expected, as bad as that seems. I'm not saying that it was right, but that's I think that's the way it is. So I know, I do a lot of driving. I do some driving for a living. And so when Central got redesigned and they started putting in all those U-turns and things, I started practicing right away to not take lefts, go to the light, do the U-turn, all of that kind of stuff, because I knew that I didn't want to get hit by an art bus, myself, especially in my little car. I would have been toast. So I've taken extra precautions. But of course, I'm up on it. I don't think everyone else is up on it. And I agree with some that just a double yellow line and a double white line, a lot of people just ignore the hell out of that stuff. And so kind of like they did on Central between the railroad tracks and University Boulevard, they installed these really thin concrete medians there, and to stop people from going left off of those side streets. And it was annoying, but it works, right? People are not going to challenge those. That may have to get done in this city all up and down Central if they want to keep this art thing going. Chris Larinaga comments, and thanks, Chris, for commenting. Further inquiry on candidates taking dollars from developers is needed, I feel. Yes, and absolutely. And so the information comes out on the financial reports that they have to turn in every so often with the city. And, and unfortunately, unlike the Secretary of State's website, we can get the PDFs from the city clerk's website, but they don't have it where it can transfer into an Excel file where you can just dump it and download it into an Excel file that makes it easy for immediate churning of the numbers and sorting and things like that. So a little bit more work has to get done when researching those reports. But I think that what we need to do as a population as a whole is identify the bad actors in our city government, not just like the individuals, but sort of like the forces at play, and identify them. And when we see those forces at play operating with certain candidates or certain initiatives or in certain groups and whatever, whether they're helping a certain candidate or attacking another candidate, that automatically gives us some of the information that we need. Okay, as an analogy, in the presidential world, like when a billionaire starts, whining at some of the Democratic nominees because of some of their proposals, that usually reinforces the idea that I'm pretty happy with that candidate. And whoever the billionaires are not whining at, those are usually people then that I'm going to stay away from, because if the billionaires are cool with those folks, then I'm probably not going to be cool with them. There are scant few billionaires that are good actors. Very, very, very few, and a whole lot that are not. So, and the billionaires in many ways show themselves through these outside development corporations that come in and try to do massive developments and railroad all the bills through us, through our legislature, through our city council, and without concern for water or other issues or things that we're going to have to deal with decades later after they've taken their money and run on developing the properties and selling homes and all kinds of other stuff. And their investors will get their money from those profits in their stocks, and they go smiling all the way to the bank while we deal with all of the infrastructure issues later on. So, that's, like I said, that's the kind of stuff we need to look at. And I will do my best to start bringing some of that stuff to light. Okay, we've got one more box that's come in. 5 out of 10 boxes have come in. Let me just throw that up here. So now with 5 of 10 boxes, half the boxes in, we've got another District 2 heavy box, and we've got Zach Quintero, and he's gotten 70 more votes than Ike Benton on election day. But that's not enough. I mean, he's got a 300 vote deficit to overcome. 70 is not going to get him there. And as each vote center ticks by, they're going to go further and further away from District 2. There'll be fewer votes cast. So with half of them in, and there may have been 1 or 2 that were boxes that were outside of both 2 and 4. But time's running out for Zach if he's going to kind of post a victory here against Ike Benton. But he's got the incumbent down below 53%, almost below 52%. So no matter what, this is going to be considered a good showing for Zach Quintero. He's right now, if the results were done, and this was the final, I would say that Zach has lost well, meaning that he's actually outpaced my expectations for his percentage on the runoff. So that's a credit to him and to his campaign for making this a race. Ana Romero still trailing, although she's trailing at 7% instead of 9%, and we're still waiting for the ballot boxes that will come in heavy in District 4. I'm sure they're going to be here any time now. All right, so got half the boxes in. The results are coming in at a pretty decent pace. I'm pleased with that, because I remember on election night in November, it took a while. And actually I was grateful for that, because if you remember my live stream, I had just a slew of technical difficulties with my live stream, and I had a couple of restarts. It took me a while. So actually the fact that the results didn't come in right away was it was kind of a blessing in disguise. But now here we are, and there's it doesn't take as long. There's only one thing on each ballot to count, so it's not like the last one we had 2 sides. They were jam-packed in microscopic print. So yeah. So here's something I'd like to just bring across to you. Going back to my blank ballot cast, I would love to fill in a bubble, but we didn't have an option for me in this case. So in Nevada, and there may be another state or two that has this, but I know in Nevada, for their races for like the statewide, legislative, even congressional and federal, they have a law that says that after the list of the candidates for that office, there's another line that's added at the bottom, and it says none of the above. None of the above, and you can circle that, meaning I don't like any of these candidates. And if none of the above actually wins the race, then basically they'd have to rerun the election for that office with different candidates. Now, as to my recollection, in Nevada, none of the above has never won, but it does, give an outlet for people to be able to express their feelings in a very clear way. And I think that being able to express that you don't like any of the candidates, enough that you can't vote for them, is just as important as saying I want to vote for that person. I'm really becoming a huge advocate of not voting unless you can say to yourself, this is a candidate I can vote for. Not I'm voting for this candidate because they're the least worst. But I'm completely against lesser evil voting. That it has really created a downward spiral in the kind of candidacies that we get. I think that the powers that be use that philosophy to corral people into votes that they don't want to take, and that the public at large needs to get a backbone and say, if I can't vote for you, I'm not voting for you. That I cast positive votes. I don't cast double negative votes. So work for me or don't get my vote. And I think that we'd have a better political climate if that were the case. So, all right, let's see where we're at now. It is 7:54. We're coming up on the top of the 8 o'clock hour. And now we got one more box in. So let me bring the window up for you guys. All right, we got one more box in. Again, heavy on District 2, and now Zach Quintero has a lead of, it's the same. It's about 70 votes. So we had some more votes added, but the lead stayed the same, which did scrunch the margin between the two candidates a little bit, but it's it's not enough, and Zach's time is getting thin. Ana Romero is ahead by a little less than 40 votes on election day voting against Brooke Bassan, and this is kind of interesting. So 6 out of 10 centers have turned in their results, and District 4 has very few election day votes, which is telling me that District 4 residents like to vote inside their own district. They're not, and that could mean several things. And the demographic in District 4 does run a little older, which means you're probably more retired folks, and so they will vote at the locations close to where they live. The convenience centers, I think, really are a boon to working voters who have to commute and go to a different part of the city to vote. So with the 7 p.m. deadline on election day, they can leave work and go to the center that's closest to them, which may not be physically in the district that they live in, but it doesn't matter because we've got convenience centers. And so I think that's why you're seeing what we're seeing here. That's my best guess, because I cannot for the life of me think that if District 2 is turning out half the early and absentee vote of District 4, that District 4 is going to turn in less vote on election day than District 2. There may be reasons for more election day voting in District 2, but even so, the numbers are just too disparate to make that kind of difference mathematically. If you look at the totals, excuse me for 1 second. Thank you for bearing with me on that technical difficulty. I forgot to plug my laptop in, and it was about to die if I didn't stick it into the power strip. All right, if you go to the total totals right now, the cumulative totals, you'll see that with the election day voting, Benton has 2907, Zach 2666, but down in District 4, more votes have been cast, even though the election day votes are negligible. So there's just more people who vote in District 4. 4, 8, 9, way up in the heights, tend to be the leaders in the voting in the city. They always are the ones pulling the average up, whereas I'd say 1 and 3 and 2 tend to be on the bottom end of the average. 6 a little bit as well. 7 and 5 kind of are the average. So I wonder when the boxes are going to come in that are going to tell us what's happening in District 4. Ugh. Like Tom Petty said, the waiting is the hardest part. The waiting is the hardest part. But that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna wait this sucker out until we get an answer. I want answers. You can't handle the truth. Yes, I can. I'm here to deliver the truth as much as I possibly can. So, Chris Larinaga, better to go with the candidates that take money from donors that operate conscientiously, like the Sierra Club. Right, but what happens when you get people who get backed by the Sierra Club and the big-time developers at the same time? That's when my brain starts to go, right? And what that tells me is that somebody's getting fooled. And in politics, it's very it's very important to follow the money. The money never lies. And when you see big money getting dropped somewhere, then that is possibly the single greatest. There's two things: big money and big army. Big army meaning, like, if some candidate just has a horde of volunteers and is marshaling this army, there's a reason for that, and you can respect and probably know that this is a real thing. Likewise, when big sums of money get dumped somewhere, they're not doing it to lie, especially with money. People don't play around with money. Big money people, they might kind of make it rain a little bit to all the candidates. They'll give a little bit to all the candidates, but they will dump their money hard where they really want it. So that's something you can trust. And you can trust it in our case in the negative, because like wherever the big money is going, that's where we don't want to go. So what happens when groups like the Sierra Club, like say, endorse Ike Benton, and then so do the big time developers? What happens when and Working Families Party endorsed Ike Benton, right? And then so this is a conflict here. So there's something is not adding up, and something's not being said, or something is not being understood about city politics, and we've been running on some assumptions. This is why I withheld my vote for Ike Benton. I thought about voting for him, making sure he'd win, because he's old enough that he's probably only going to make this 4 years, and then that's it. And so 4 years from now, we'll have a chance of a reboot to get something that we really want in District 2. So yeah, this is it's perplexing, but I trust big money to tell me the truth about big money. Okay, not the truth about politics in general, but about what they think. All right, now we've got 8 out of 10 boxes. 8 out of 10 boxes in, and what's our results? Okay, now the Benton Quintero numbers hardly moved at all, and now we have some more votes coming in from Brooke Bassan and Ane Romero, and Brooke Bassan now has a 30-vote lead. It's a 26-vote lead on the election day boxes over Ane Romero, and so here we go. Brooke, it's up to Ane. I can't remember how to. My apologies, I forgot how to properly pronounce your first name. But with a 500 vote deficit to overcome, and only 2 boxes left. It's Hail Mary time. I mean, I know that we're probably still waiting for my 2 boxes that are probably the meat and potatoes of District 4 to come in. But also, it's not looking good. Zach Quintero, he's got Ike Benton down to 52.15%. He's about to go under 50. 52%. But at this rate, with only 2 boxes and going well outside of his district at this point, we're probably looking at boxes coming in from the far northwest, the far north in District 4. There's not going to be a lot of raw votes cast out of these remaining boxes. So let's see here. I'm floored that the election day results are so small for District 4 right now. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Let's see here. Can somebody out there get me? I'm going to search for them too, but could somebody out there do a search and get me the election returns from the first run, because they're not showing up on the Secretary of State's website, and I'd like to get those for comparison. Let's see here. There we go. Let's see. See if I can pull them up from the Albuquerque Journal. Oh, they're going to paywall me, really? Here we go. Maybe I can pull them out of the Secretary of State's website. Here we go. I got it. So let's see here. Let me get these up so that you guys can see them as well, as I'm looking through them. So November 5th, here we go. So let's get to, let me see where we can get to the, all right. District 2, we had 11,550 votes cast. District 4, we had 10,449 votes cast. So here's an interesting thing, and wow, this again proves things I've said before, which is, do you want people to turn out to vote? Give them something to vote for. Voters want choice. I know people say, oh, there's too many and it's confusing and whatever. No. Okay? If you have lots of choices on the ballot, there will be somebody who gets activated by one of those choices. Even if it's a smaller, look at Joseph Griego and Stephen Baca. They only got 600, almost 700 votes each. But you know what? Those 700 voters may not have really been activated if those two hadn't been in the race. And so in a district which I said usually votes less than District 4, they actually turned out more raw vote than District 4 because there were more choices. I will keep saying this all the time. We're Americans. We love choice. Sometimes it's hard with choices, but we would prefer to have choices than no choices. So 11,554 for District 2. And then if we go over here and look, we've got currently with 8 out of 10 boxes, and let's see if we can get some more. Nope. We've got in District 2, we've got 5,578 votes. We've got half the vote of November, okay? Are you seeing me? Are you hearing me? People who say that runoff elections are better and they're more representative. I cry bullshit to that claim. Half the vote. We have half the voters. Half from November. We would not have that drop off with ranked choice voting. So, I can't listen to all of these people who want, 17th century style elections in the 21st century. I'm past done with all of this. And this is what gets me to not vote for people, at times. Also, I'm getting picky. I am getting picky. But I think that we've let candidates and elected officials off the hook, just too much. We excuse so much, and then this is what happens. So you cannot tell me that if 50% fewer people are voting, that the elite are not having more control over this election. They are, okay? I mean, it's the lower the vote return, it's been shown in study after study, the higher the income, the more conservative the voter is that actually continues to vote, as opposed to people with lower incomes, less education, they tend to, and less income, tend to not vote as often. So, you know, I can pretty much tell you that this is a very different subset of the electorate voting in the runoff than in the general, right? So now let's take a look here at District 4. Now, mind you, with District 4, I don't think we're even close to having all the election day results in. But we've got, right now, we have 6,600 votes out of 10.4 thousand. So now that's 60%. So about a 40% about a 40% drop. It's about a 40% drop from November. Little bit better. So in all actuality, for if more election day votes come in, the drop off is not going to be as big in District 4 as it was in District 2, but the first round wasn't as big for District 4 either. They had a little bit more malaise in their turnout in November than District 2 did. District 2, that was a WWE Royal Rumble slugfest, and people showed up for it. We had something to vote for. So you know, that's what can I say? I'm just checking the my phone's binging at me here, and nothing I got to pay attention to. All right, let me get back to the comments here, see if we got some more. Don't be shy, folks. You know, please comment. Make this a two-way conversation. It works best for all of us when that's happening. All right. So Worth Nothing, EGOV, face-to-face, a challenge. It's like Ike Benton knew this would happen. Yeah. Now, you know, to Ike Benton's credit, Ike did vote for ranked choice voting, and in fact, he was the author of the bill. Now, yeah, he was the author of the ranked choice voting bill that went through all the machinations and the destruction of the West Wall Democrats voting no on all of that stuff, including Ken Sanchez. Ken Sanchez, who, if you haven't seen the news reports, he's been in the hospital since late November. Apparently it's something serious. I don't have all of the details on that. There is a chance that that he will not be available for the swearing in January, and that Tim Keller may need to appoint a replacement. Charles Compton telling me that A-N-E equals Ann. It's just Ann. It's just spelled A-N-E, but it's Ann. Okay, thank you, Charles. Thank you for that. Ann Romero. Okay. Tim Keller has a decision to make. I think that he's already in the process of making that decision, possibly vetting or whatnot. I'm going to have a video about the top 5 things that Tim Keller really needs to take into account for his potential appointment to District 1 Council. And it's big. And if you've seen my videos like on ranked choice voting, and it's kind of gaming out how the council votes, it's a very tight council. But the developers have the advantage. But sometimes it's like a 5-4 advantage. It's like a 1 vote advantage sometimes. So the switching of taking, pro-development puppet master Ken Sanchez out of the council and you put in a more pro sane development, pro people approach candidate who doesn't just bow down to the big time developers right away. it could then switch the 5 to 4 to 4 to 5, to where we can actually, maybe do some planning and thinking about some of what's going on. So anyway, hang on one second. I have to just answer this. So yeah, Tim Keller's got a really big decision on his hands, and what I think that's why I'm going to do a video, and I think all of you need to really pay attention, because basically it's hard for us sometimes to know truly where our politicians stand, who they are, and what they're all about. If he gets to appoint a member, if everything stays the same, and say that Ike Benton wins the race this time, and then that Brooke Passon comes in and is basically like a replacement for Brad Winter and his votes, then the appointment to Council District 1 becomes thoroughly critical. Who gets in there and how they vote can completely alter the makeup of the city council. And so Tim Keller, who probably many times feels run over by the city council, and that he sometimes can't get done what he wants, well, this is his time. This is his shot. And so, honestly, he has only 3 choices. He can either put in someone just like Ken Sanchez, huge mistake, and would be very telling about Mayor Keller. Number 2, put in someone who's not like Ken Sanchez at all, and doesn't, how would I put it? It creates a real change, one that hopefully would be more to what he campaigned about when he was running for mayor. And number 3 would be that he kind of vacillates and picks someone who's sort of a little bit of a nothing. But that would kind of be a mistake, and also might be telling about who we have in the mayor's seat. So, like, a real profile and courage, a real moment where something could be, something big could happen, is afoot. So it's 8:16, and we still don't have either of those 2 of the 10 boxes that are still waiting to come in. We still don't have them. They're still hanging out there, and I don't know. We may have to call in the Organization of American States and bring in the military and do a little Bolivia action here if we have any more delays in the vote. That's weird. How come these votes aren't these boxes are not coming in? Was there that much election day vote? Were there lines hanging out post 7 o'clock? I haven't heard any reports about that. So, Chris Larinaga, Javier Benavides for District 1. Well, that would be a very, very bold appointment. I would be very, very in favor of that appointment. That would be amazing. Tim Keller would lose certain friends and gain a lot of respect from others. And with Javier Benavides on the city council, that city council would be completely different, and in a good way for the citizens of Albuquerque. He's a true champion who really cares about how regular people fare in any of the policy decisions that we make. I'm a big fan. I don't think the money is on Javier Benavides, but that would be an excellent choice. And what I would say is, if you had got somebody in the style of Javier Benavides, or somebody who had the same sorts of outlooks as Javier Benavides has, or has had, like during his council races, or a lot of his work with nonprofits and other things, he's had a record of over a decade where he's been kind of visible on a lot of great issues. So, just like anything else, I do want to say that champions aren't born. I think they're made. And so even if you have a champion like Javier Benavides, that doesn't mean he's the only person like that. There are other people in District 1 who could fit that bill. There are other people who have the same outlooks. Maybe they might need to learn a thing or two that Javier knows that they don't know, or about government or other things. But you know what? People can grow in these offices. And in something like a municipal office, it's a great place to do that. So anyway, I think that there is a list out there of several people that live in District 1 who could fit that bill. And I really, really hope that Mayor Keller looks in that kind of direction and doesn't just get an old washed out politician, a relative of Ken Sanchez or part of his insider crew, and puts them in District 1. So I'm going to be watching very, very carefully what happens here. We're again living in interesting times. There's things that you cannot predict, which is just like the lifespans of people and whatever. We have 9 out of 10 boxes now. 9 out of 10 boxes. And it looks like the returns didn't change. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but the election day results don't look any different to me. They're no different in District 2, and they're no different in District 4. So something strange is going on there, and we're going to have to... we're going to have to check that out. That's kind of weird. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. We've got no change in the vote. I'm gonna reload here a couple times to see if clicking that might not change it. Nope. That's really odd. So 952. Okay. Well, you think you've seen it all. I've seen this before, where we get boxes that come in, but yet nothing changes. It's probably a little glitch. Probably a little glitch from the computer system. I'm gonna keep refreshing. It probably means that something's coming up here in just a second, but we do not have that going on. So we got some predictions, maybe that Keller's bought and paid for, and so Wendy Chavez asks, does getting a new box in mean that the results have already been tallied or only that they're ready to be counted? No, when they say that a new box is in, it means it's been tallied. So that's why the numbers should go up, in terms of how many votes have been cast, and yet we're not seeing that here. So that makes me, wonder what the hell's going on. That shouldn't happen like that. Or if, I'm not sure, I didn't write down what the 8 out of 10 numbers were, but when I look at the totals, they look the same. So Ani Romero has 520 votes to catch up on, with, I'm still saying 2 boxes to go, because this 9 is a ghost. That should not be a 9. It should still be an 8 as far as I'm concerned. So let's see here. I'm gonna shoot a text over to the Bernalillo County. I've got a contact in Bernalillo County, and see if if I can get some clarification on what's going on here, because like I said, that's weird. Please stay tuned. All right, I've sent off a text to see if we can get some clarification on that. So, is it possible the numbers have not yet been entered? So, what I would say is that it's all kind of automated. So reports come in from cartridges that come from the voting machines or from the vote center, and so those get compiled and are put into a computer database, and then the database will spit out the results once there's been some clearance that all the cartridges or whatever, all the data from a certain polling location has been triple verified and is out. And so then it should upload to this reporting system and then give us the results. So yeah. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. That this is odd. So anyone else out there, if you got any different information, just let me know and put it up on there. But yeah, no, we should not see a change in that box number without a corresponding change in the vote numbers. So, are we having fun yet? Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment with the elections. There's always something, it just seems, So, there's always got to be something. I remember back in the 90s, it used to be, it was always, we had polling places like for every precinct. And invariably, so, you had like 400 presiding judges. I mean, we had election people like crazy, and you have like 400 presiding judges, and some of them, this is their first time or whatever, and sometimes there'd be malfunctions with the machines and the tapes and all that, and there are classically times where like a box wouldn't get counted totally until like midnight, like at the location, and we didn't have like cell phone type communications to wire election results where you had to physically take the box with the cartridges downtown, and there's where they shoved all the information in, and invariably there were some presiding judges that decided that, well, it's super late, so I'm just going to lock everything up in the lock boxes of the elections and put the stuff in the back seat of my car or truck. I'm going to go home, and in the morning I'll bring the returns into the county. Well, that sparks an automatic friendly little call to the sheriff's department to go track you down and bring those boxes in. But in the meantime, we're not getting the results while that happens, right? So, and invariably there's some race going right down to the wire, there, where it's down to like, 20, 30 votes to the box or two sitting out there, and we're all going crazy waiting for that box to come in because we can't call the race until that's all done. So here we are, 9 of 10, doesn't make sense. Waiting for an answer. So man. So yeah, Tim Keller, District 1. I really hope he does the right thing. And honestly, we need to call his office and tell him that, like, this is a critical moment in political history. This is a critical deciding factor that you, Mr. Mayor, can have control over, can make a decision and can have a huge impact on the future of the council and how it goes and what kind of votes it takes and what kind of issues get pushed forward and what kind of things are delayed that used to be going forward. And there's just really no out here. This is a moment to shine, in my opinion. You Mayor Keller, can shine with a possible appointment in District 1. And if ever there was a moment for you to lock down who you are as a political individual in our city and in our state, that appointment's going to be it. So, you need to pray for the health of Ken Sanchez if you don't want to make that decision. And I will pray for you to do the right thing if you do have to make that decision. And I'm going to call your office, and I hope others do as well. I think the mayor's going to need a lot of guidance, and it needs to come from people other than the NAOP, the Association of Commerce and Industry, and every business lobbyist under the sun that plagues the city council in the roundhouse. Chris Larinaga was asking about the demographics of District 4, and City Council District 4 is it's one of the more conservative districts in the city. Now, 4 years ago, Israel Chavez, a young gentleman, active Democrat, took on Brad Winter in what seemed like a quixotic, attempt, and he got 42% of the vote. 42% is not an embarrassment, honestly, in a district like that. And I think that in some ways he showed that the district is changing, and it is true. There is there's a blue creep, as I call it, going on in Albuquerque, and it's now even reaching into going north of Montgomery, going east of Eubank and Juan Tabo, so that there is change going on. And like we even saw with Maureen Scourin's race in District 8 taking on Trudy Jones, that although she didn't win, she was pushing into territory, some along the foothills of Albuquerque, where there were people that got knocked on their door that said that they've never had a Democrat knock on their door in 10, 15, 20 years that they've lived there. So, it's coming. It's an evolution. There's population patterns that show, and I've noticed that in my sort of thumbnail view is that Republicans don't like homes that are more than 25 or 30 years old. The home gets 25 to 30 years old, they go find a bright, shiny new development to go move into, which is why Cottonwood area is kind of the way it is. And even some of the far west outskirts of District 1 along the escarpment and above the escarpment are the way they are. And it's that kind of thing. And then who fills in those areas? They either rent the homes out to renters, or there's other homeowners that don't mind 25 to 30-year-old houses, and they tend to be not as Republican. They're not always flaming liberals, but there's usually a shift. So anyway, they sell their house to a Democrat. Well, a lot of times they don't have the control. They have a realtor who does the sale, and there you go. If someone wants to buy, and they'll sell it. So it's just sort of a pattern that happens over time. So and that's I think that's continuing to occur in District 4. So even if Ana Romero comes out with just 46% of the vote, that's 4% better than Israel Chavez did, and it continues that trend. So that unless something different occurs, the trend is moving favorably for Democrats overall in the city of Albuquerque. The only place where I think the trend might be going sideways or backwards is in District 5, which is occupied by a Democrat, Cynthia Borrego, but Cynthia Borrego is, just barely a Democrat. And Ken Sanchez and all of the West Siders, Claire's opinion, they all vote with the developers most of the time. So it's, they don't always take votes that different from Trudy Jones and Brad Winter and Don Harris. So 2 years from now, we've got a really epic city council races coming up. 2 years from now, we'll have the mayor's race again, and all the odd districts. All the odd districts, 1, 3, and 5, the West Wall. All the West Side districts will be up. Don Harris in the Fort Hills area will be up. 7, that's the Mid Heights, Diane Gibson's district. I don't know if she's going to run again. That might be wide open. And that's basically, with the exception of Diane Gibson, the coalition that I don't like, they're all up, except for Jones and District 4, they're all up. So if we get switches in those districts, we could, again, alter the makeup of the city council districts, of the city council. So 2 years from now, people should be getting ready now for 2 years from now. Should be organizing now for 2 years from now. Should be knocking on doors now for 2 years from now. Getting their networks together, getting things together. It could be huge. Because honestly, when I go back to ranked choice voting, I look at ranked choice voting, and New York City just voted in ranked choice voting, the biggest city to vote in ranked choice voting, and Las Cruces did it. Now Santa Fe has it too. What do we know that Santa Fe and Las Cruces doesn't know, or what do they know that we don't know? Are we really, what are we protecting here? And there's so many things like that unfortunately Albuquerque, although the population center of New Mexico and a technical hub and a place where there's some innovation going on in the science world and some other things, politically has a incredibly calcified conservative stick in the mud way about it. And it's highly frustrating because as the big population center, we should be pushing the envelope. It's 8:35, and we still don't have any numbers different from basically 8 o'clock. And I don't know what's going on here, but that's, this is not okay. Those boxes shouldn't take that long, right? If you see up here, 9 of 10 vote centers, and 7:52 p.m. was the last reported time. So yeah, we're that's a little bit upsetting. We should be there by now. Let me go back to my chat here. Let's see, moving the needle. Yes, Chris, moving the needle. Yeah, I guess political affiliation is not a question on the loan, like for buying a house. That is correct. Although, there's a book that was written, oh my God, I think it's almost 20 years ago now, called Freakonomics. And this economist wrote this book. It was very interesting, highly entertaining read. And it had chapters that seemed kind of weird, but one of them was how real estate agents are like the KKK. And what they pointed out is that realtors, besides campaign operatives who do field campaigning all their life like me and run around in neighborhoods and deal in neighborhoods and things like that, realtors do this. And so they kind of have an idea that like certain neighborhoods, certain developments, and certain things have certain characteristics and styles and things like that. And it's true, if you drive into a neighborhood, all of us can like get off a boulevard, drive into a side street into a neighborhood, and we'll have a reaction to that neighborhood, like, oh, I like this neighborhood, or oh, I don't like this neighborhood. Me, I like neighborhoods where the houses are all a little different, or even if they weren't different when they were first built, the neighborhood's like 60 years old now, and so everyone's kind of redesigned their house, maybe done an addition or redone the front yard or whatever, and so each house kind of has its own character. For some people, they don't like that. They like going to places where everything's like almost exactly the same. They find a comfort level from that. I find it frightening. But a realtor will talk to their clients about what they like and don't like and other things, and they will try to place them, to create a sale with something that they like. And so invariably, like, certain patterns will get replayed and replayed and replayed in certain neighborhoods. And so that will happen. You'll get these patterns that occur. So to answer your question, Wendy, I guess that's how things like that happen, where all of a sudden Democrats are going into a certain neighborhood or Republicans are going into a certain neighborhood. That's the action right there. Okay. Nothing. Still nothing. I'm staying on the air until these numbers are in. I mean, I think, honestly, I think I can call this race, both for Benton and Bassan, but for Brooke Bassan, there's just not enough election day vote. Ike Benton, I believe, has now won the runoff. I'm calling his election with 2 boxes to go. I can't yet do that with District 4 because I do feel like there will be many more votes coming in. I mean, if we compare what District 2 has about 2,000 votes cast to the 700 votes cast in District 4 for Election Day. So, I mean, they've got to be at least similar. There's got to be at least like another 1,000, 1,300 votes, maybe 1,400 votes out there. Now, given that, if you need 500 votes to get back to even out of 1,400, that's like having to get what, 9 versus 5, 10 versus 4. Yeah, you're gonna need 950 of those 1,400 votes, which means that you're gonna need to pull out about 2/3 of the outstanding election day vote. 2/3 when she's only running at 46% currently. Now, Democratic style candidates tend to do better on election day, although we saw in District 8 where that didn't totally apply. But that was also, I think, an aberration. Republicans showed up in droves on election day, as well as Democrats. There was a 30% turnout in that race, which was somewhat unheard of. I mean, District 8 blew the doors off of the turnout, and they usually do lead the turnout. See, there was nearly 13,000 votes cast there. And what I would say is that the Democratic campaign, and for disclosure, I was the field manager on Maureen Scarron's campaign, and Maureen Scarron's campaign, I think, did a good job at pulling more Democrats out to vote than before. 4 years before this, there was only 3,000 votes cast in District 8's election. Now, it was uncontested, but still. So the vote turnout got spiked, and it got spiked for both for the Democrats, but also for the Republicans. There was some last-second heavy electioneering. There was an extra $40,000 dumped into the District 8 race for Republican Trudy Jones that wasn't there at the beginning of the race. So a lot of heavy effort was put in. So Republicans did show up on Election Day in District 8. There were lines going out the buildings for a while on that November election. But, as we're seeing here, that doesn't seem to be the case. Oh, now we've got it. We got 10 out of 10. See, here we go. This is what I was telling you. Election Day, 1,800 votes cast in District 4. That makes sense. Here we are, 10 out of 10. There's even some more votes for District 2. So when all was said and done, Zach Quintero got about 60 more votes than Ike Benton on Election Day. But that's not enough to surmount the lead that Ike Benton had going into absentee and early voting. So there definitely seems to have been a shift towards Zach late in the election, in that month that came out. Let me check out one other thing, which is Ike Benton now got 29-29 on his vote. What did he get in the first round? Isaac Benton got 4,855 votes. So he got 4,800, 42% of the vote. He got 4,800 votes, and now he will be elected with only 3,000 votes. So there was a diminution of about 25% in raw vote of people who are finally making Ike Benton the reelected for Albuquerque City Council District 2. Brooke Bassan, now with all the boxes in, maintained her lead, kept it to about 500 as before. The election day vote was pretty much a tie. Brooke Bassan actually got 50 more votes than Ane Romero. And so Ane falls short at 46.5%. Now, Brooke Bassan got 4,186 votes this time, and she got 5,116 votes the first time. So a good 1,000 fewer votes to become the new counselor-elect for Albuquerque City Council District 4. So, tell me that this is a better system. Tell me that when fewer people vote and fewer raw numbers of people elect your elected representatives, that's a better system to go by than with ranked choice voting. Yes, with ranked choice voting, there'll be some fallout between the rounds. Not like this. Not like a 25% drop-off in the raw votes. Not like a 50% drop-off in all the votes. You can't tell me that. Zach Quintero, 2387 in the first run, 2680 in the second run. He got more. Now, of course, he more than doubled his percentage turnout for the second round. So again, that kind of anti-incumbent, anti-Ike feeling, I think, was out there, and it was expressed. There wasn't enough of that expression, but it's definitely there in the vote. So, I hope Ike Benton takes this into account as he moves forward. I know there's been a lot of complaints that he's unresponsive to local neighborhood leaders, that he is attempting to reformat downtown and neighboring to downtown neighborhoods without the neighborhoods, without working with the neighborhood leaders and the people who live there to not completely, 100% urbanize those areas and find some kind of solution. That he's had deaf ears for that. And so I think some of that also got reflected in the vote this time. All right. Any other last comments from other folks out there? The gente needs to be educated and informed on issues like RCV. Yes, I agree. And we need to all keep talking and doing that. And hopefully this tonight is a good example of that. Wendy Chavez. So what category would that be in message to TK? Municipal development, planning? I don't see anything about city council or anything that comes closer. I don't know if you're talking about on a website or whatever. I'd make a phone call directly to the mayor's office, honestly. In this case, you may, I'd have to look that up. So, but that is a good question, and we'll have to check that out. So there you go. We've got our other two city councilors now. We have Ike Benton reelected, and we have Brooke Bassan taking over for Brad Winter. This has been, thank you very much for joining the live stream, for hanging in there with me for a live stream that didn't have as many technical difficulties this time. I'm getting better with this the more I do it. Please, by the way, I want to just some last few messages. Please like, please share. Also, please start using the Brave browser. I have a link to it in my descriptions. Sign up with the Brave browser. And use Brave. It gives you instant pop-up security, instant other kinds of third-party tracker security. But it also, if you they do bring in ads from people they work with, but the ads are not obnoxious. And if you check them out, you earn basic attention tokens called BAT tokens. And if you have a BAT token and you have a creator like me who's signed up with Brave to accept BAT tokens, you can tip me in BAT tokens that you earn just from web browsing on Brave and checking out some of their ads every once in a while, and everybody wins. I can keep going doing this kind of stuff. You can find a way to tip and contribute to me and other people. There's over 800,000 creators who have connected with Brave and with the Brave Creators Program, and you can do it in a way where you don't necessarily have to take one penny out of your own bank account, and yet you can provide something that creators can use monetarily and help themselves continue doing the work on here. And just before you go, I'm going to show you what that looks like when you're on Brave. So if you're on Brave right now, you'll see this. Let me see if I can bring up. I'd have to bring up the window. Let me see here. Hang with me for 1 second, please. This is it's important. I hope that you would hang with me and check this out, because I want to educate people on how this works. So, okay. Let's see if I've got it right. Give me 2 more seconds here. There we go. And I'm getting a black screen of death. Okay, well, I can't show you, but there's a little triangle for the Brave single. It has a blue check mark. You see the blue check mark, then you can click on that and donate BAT tokens that you have acquired through the Brave browser and Brave Rewards, and you can help me and others that are out there. Hey, this has been the live coverage of the Albuquerque City Council runoff elections, election night. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for hanging out on there. And thank you for being part of the ever-growing community on the Duopoly Report, where hopefully we can bring a lot more to Albuquerque and New Mexico politics, education, and get some more truth out there, because truth is cool, and truth is what is the only way we can get to where we need to be. Have a good night. Thank you very much.